All right, here we go. Another episode. Episode 6 of Moose Milk Podcast. Just gonna wait for Matt to show up. But before he gets here, I'd just like to say I did plan on having another episode this week. And that fell kind of through. Just wait for this to work. Hello, Matthew.
Hello, my friend. Continue your talk. I don't want to interrupt. I jumped right in right as you were starting.
No, good, buddy. I'm planning on having a second episode this week. I filmed for 5 hours with friends on Saturday, doing our top 10 games of all time. And it recorded with no audio. So I spent 5 hours recording a podcast, and it's silent. So I'm still learning what I'm doing, kind of with the podcasting, and I apologize. I planned on having a second episode, and it just kind of fell apart on me. So I'm going to do it again in the future once I have everything figured out. But recording not on Instagram is harder than it seems, apparently. So.
Yeah, that sucks. I felt so bad for you that day when you sent me that text. I'm just like, oh my god, just because it's like 5 hours is already like.
No, it was the longest podcast that ever should have happened, and I had no plans on it going for 5 hours. It took. And after 4 hours, I was like, well, we still haven't even hit our top 3, so this is going to go for at least another hour. And it ended up being 5 hours and 20 minutes or something like that, but it is what it is. There's nothing I could do about it. Yep. I had the second person try to record it at the same time. His had no audio too, so clearly it was something to do with how we were recording it.
Right, yeah. Well, that sucks, but I mean, I guess you just learn from it and move on, I guess, right?
Well, welcome to the podcast, right? Yeah. I mean, people lose podcasts all the time, and that just so happened to be the one I lost, which sucks because it was so long, but we're going to try to do something different so it keeps its spontaneity and not necessarily a top 10, but maybe top 10 PlayStation 4 games or something along those lines of
that'd be cool.
We can change it up where it's still fresh.
Even going a bit less, right? The thing is when there's 5 of you or 4 of you or whatever, right? It's everybody has 10. That's 40 things, and it's you know what I mean? So it's.
Oh, and then we talked about each game. There was a whole tangent on World of Warcraft because I knew my buddy Chris was going to pick World of Warcraft. And probably put, I don't know, something ridiculous.
I remember you telling me that Chris played. Wow, yeah.
Yeah, so then they went on a whole World of Warcraft tangent for 35 minutes, and I was just sitting here I have nothing to add to this conversation, but feel free,
Yeah, jump in.
So anyway, I apologize. We'll figure out something else to do in the future. I got to find a program that can let me record outside of Instagram. So, but yeah. Anyway, Marvel.
We have WandaVision to talk about.
We have WandaVision 6.
WandaVision 6.
What do you think, buddy?
You seemed lukewarm on it.
I actually thought it was a pretty boring episode.
A
lot stuff happened. Don't get me wrong, but. It felt like a setup episode to me. It felt like it was setting up the last 3 episodes of the season, and nothing of substance really happened. Where last week, we got the Quicksilver reveal.
2 weeks. Last 2 weeks really have been
and I mean it was inevitable that one episode wasn't going to be some shocking twist ending, but
totally.
That was just kind of okay, well, this isn't as good as the last 2 weeks. So it kind of just brought the whole thing down for me. But it's not that it was bad. Obviously, it's still a relevant episode, and we'll get into it. But it just didn't blow me away.
Yeah, I definitely felt the same way in the sense that it was underwhelming compared to the last 2. But I still thought it was better than the first 3. So three. There was 3 kind of So that's kind of where I landed.
The first 3 were definitely setup episodes, and this was clearly setting up the last 3 episodes, so that's fine. I mean, we'll get into spoilers in a sec, but it definitely, you could tell this was where they were gonna. Okay, we know what's happening. We know that the end results are coming together now, and the way the episode ends is clearly setting up the last 2 episodes.
Yeah.
My dog.
So yeah, I mean, that's all right. Go get the little dude.
I can hear you.
Finny Finn. Yeah. So I guess we just jump right into spoilers, right? Because that's what we're talking about. So
yeah.
So I guess anything jump out at you right away? So I have to say, my favorite thing about this whole thing was I loved the classic costumes.
Yeah, I knew you would.
They're just so great.
I mean, they looked perfect, and I mean, it made sense because it was a Halloween themed episode, and what else are you going to do with it? It made perfect sense for them to do it there, where obviously they would never be in those costumes otherwise. But yeah, I mean, I loved both of them, Wanda and Quicksilver. I was just like, oh, this is perfect.
Yeah, they were great, eh?
Yeah.
I loved Quicksilver's honestly, it's I relate everything in the MCU to action figures, right? Because it's
yeah.
So it's as I'm watching it, I'm just oh my god, I'm trying to step away from the movie stuff right now because it's frustrating to collect. But
sure.
If they put out Wanda and Pietro in those costumes, I would in a hot second. I would have a hard time not buying that. Yeah. I just love it. I even loved how they did the windswept hair.
Yeah.
For Quicksilver. Yeah. I thought that was great.
Yeah, I mean, not gonna lie, my next Halloween costume might be Scarlet Witch. I look pretty good in that.
You would look good in that.
Yeah. I mean, those red tights, come on.
I know, it's good, man.
But yeah, no, I love that aspect. I loved Vision being a detective this episode.
Yeah.
And basically I know things are going on and I don't know what's going on, but I'm gonna figure it out. He kind of played the detective mode of I'm going to the outskirts of this city and I am figuring out what's going on. And to see all the random citizens of the city just dead still, not
the
really.
Ladies crying, just sitting there crying, and it's fuck.
The repetitive motions of them hanging the Halloween decorations or whatever. It was clear that she wasn't controlling them to the same aspect as the people in their direct
the farther away she is, right? Yeah.
Yeah, they're just frozen in time, half of them, and then to see Agnes kind of
dressed as a witch.
Yeah, and break character. I'm this is awesome. This is cool that they're kind of revealing that all these people are stuck in this weird I don't even know what you would call it, this weird simulation control thing that they're all trying to escape from, and I don't know, it's cool.
Well, it's interesting because do you think that Agnes is the main do you think Agnes is going to be the main bad guy here?
I don't know. I go back and forth. After this episode, I didn't.
I feel that's intentional. I feel it's a misdirect.
Yeah, after this episode, I kind of felt bad for her in the same way I felt bad for all these other people. But I do think it's probably a misdirect where you're not supposed to think she's part of it. But
yeah,
I mean, I felt really bad for Vision most of the him when he was trying to leave the Hex and his whole body's breaking apart, almost the Snap again, where pieces or chunks are falling off of him and everything that. And he has no memory of being dead. He doesn't know that he's dead until this episode, really.
Yeah.
And he's begging all the military and stuff to help these people. And I was just he's still hero of the show. He's still trying to be the Avenger. He doesn't even remember the Avenger, but he's still trying to
just
be
that's just ingrained in what he is, right? He's just he was programmed to do the right thing, right? So here he is doing the right thing. I found it interesting that when Vision went when they were in the house and he is telling her that he's going to go out on neighborhood patrol or whatever, she says what'd she say? I wrote it down. When he said, "Oh yeah, I'm going to go out and do this," and she's like, "That's not what you're supposed to." And then she kind of trails off or whatever, right? And it's I thought that was pretty interesting because it's
well, and he played along with it too. He was just kissing her on the cheek and "Oh, I know, sweetie. I just want to keep our neighborhood safe," and stuff like that. Where like clearly he knows that she's catching on to the fact that he's not being controlled by her. Mm-hmm. And I don't know, I thought that was really cool, but I also thought that oh my dog. He wanted to escape, and I think he realized he can't escape because his body is dead and he'll die as soon as he leaves.
Yeah. Do you think that's the case? Because I definitely think that's the case. Yeah.
I don't think he could possibly survive outside of the hex.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, because I don't know. I kind of wondered if maybe they would like pull an Infinity Stone from another, what's it called? But like another timeline or something.
Well, that's a theory too, is that like maybe Wanda has control of Infinity Stones in some way, or some of the Infinity Stones, and that's how she's controlling the reality of the world.
Yeah, oh yeah, maybe.
And like, how do you bring the dead back to life? Like, obviously we saw, Pietro or Quicksilver or whatever. He's there. They both realize that he's not the same as she knew him to be.
Yep.
They both comment on that he's not the same. They both commented that they both don't have accents anymore.
Yep.
Which I thought was funny.
Yeah, me too. I think it's really cool how they're doing it all.
Yeah, but then she like saw him as dead, right? Like she saw that, like same as the way she saw Vision, and I'm like, okay, so is he even real? Like, right. I don't know.
I like that he is completely aware of what's going on too. Like, I like how he's like, where you been hiding all these kids, and it's just like,
right.
No,
and like
it's crazy.
How did you get the power, and how are you doing this? And like, there was a lot of questions asked, and she didn't really give a response. Like, he's like, well, how did this all start? And she kind of was just like, oh, I went to like a really, I can't remember exactly what she said, but like isolated place or a quiet place, and like kind of just created it. And like, yeah, I don't know how far she's even realizing that she's in control of this place, which makes me think that she's not in control of this place and something else is behind it and manipulating her even. But, yeah, like clearly, I mean, we got to talk about the kids too, because they set up their superpowers as well.
Yep.
So, I mean, clearly they're leading in that direction where I don't know if they're even real or if they can escape the hex or whatever, but like they have their powers.
Well, in the comics, I believe in the original, in like when they were first introduced or whatever, they were like basically like Wanda made a soul. So even though they weren't real, because like they were like part of Mephisto's manipulation or deal or whatever with her.
Yeah.
And apparently, like, even though they weren't real, they had, like, souls because she created them out of a part of Mephisto. So in a way, they were kind of Mephisto. But there was a thing that was interesting that Quicksilver called the kids, he referred to them as, like, kids of the devil or something like that, or devil childs or something like that. So I thought that was kind of interesting.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely, like, little tidbits that, like even the commercial of the yogurt that was like all in claymation and the person like dying, and it was
so
like
weird.
The snack for survivors or something like that. And I'm like, clearly they're saying that like some of these people are dead, and like I don't know.
I did not get that. I got a different thing from that.
Well, what did you think?
I kind of, when it said a snack, first of all, I got nothing from it the first time, but when I watched it tonight, I kind of got like at the end where it said a snack for survivors, I kind of associated that with Wanda and Quicksilver surviving when the Stark missile like had hit their house or whatever, and they sat there waiting for it to go off.
Right.
That's kind of what went through my head.
There's also like a lot of talk of like their home in Sokovia and like all that kind of stuff where they came from, which leads me to believe like we are definitely going to set up something outside of what we know in the MCU, like whether it's Doctor Doom or whether it's like Magneto or like something outside of this. I mean, it could be just it could be anything really, but like I feel like they were setting up, like they were talking about their parents, they were talking about their home, like there has to be some kind of controlling factor or something relating them back to their home. There's a theory that like Doctor Doom is part of this somehow too. But
I heard Doctor Doom's not necessarily Doctor Doom, but Latveria, where he rules and where he like that's his city or country or whatever.
Right. Yeah,
is supposed to be featured in Winter Soldier and Falcon, apparently.
So you think that possibly the end of this episode we could see like that set up for Winter Soldier?
I think this is where I think next week is going to get interesting, because I think we're going into the last 3 episodes.
Yeah.
And if they're going to introduce a new villain, it really has to be the next episode, because you can't do anything with 1 half-hour episode and wrap up a story at the same time while being like, yeah, it was Mephisto. And everyone's like,
but see right there, I don't,
that's a DC move. Like you don't.
Yes. But I don't
you don't just be like,
wrap it up.
Oh, I don't necessarily mean that they're going to try to wrap it up, but what I mean is like in terms of like, I don't think they would say, hey, this is a brand new villain, unless it was like Agnes. Like if all of a sudden in episode 9 they drop that Agnes is the villain, then it's like, yeah, right, whatever, I get that. Right. But in episode 9, if they're like, it's Mephisto, but they've never said Mephisto and they've never referenced him, and it's just now we believe that there's this person that's like taking over this or is against, I don't know, you know what I mean? Like it just, I feel like we're going to get an answer next week for sure in regards to if
next
we're seeing Mephisto.
For sure.
Like I think after next week we'll know if Mephisto is actually like going to be part of this,
or whoever.
Yeah, if it's going to be a new villain, I mean. But if it's going to be someone who's already been introduced, then
I think that the best part of MCU, right, is they always leave those little breadcrumbs at the end of every movie or the end of every whatever that lead to the next thing. And I think since we ended everything really with Endgame, like that resolved most of every storyline that was in the MCU. Obviously, there's still breadcrumbs left.
Yeah, there's loose ends for sure. Yeah,
but they wanted to tie everything into that movie, and so now they're going to start leading all the breadcrumbs into the next phase, right? So I think, they may introduce a villain. I don't think that the episode 9 of WandaVision is going to have everything tied up, because I think they're going to say, just like they do in the movies, Wanda will return in Doctor Strange, or Wanda will return in whatever. And so they want to set that up, because obviously their model of releasing things is, okay, we have you hooked. We're like your drug dealer now, and you're going to go on to the next thing. And you're in, and you've watched whatever 60 hours worth of Marvel shit. So we got you hook, line, and sinker, and you're going to watch whatever we put out. Right, exactly. So like, it's they've got you regardless, so they want to leave those breadcrumbs so you're hungry for more. And I mean, if Doctor Doom is saying in Winter Soldier, well, that's the perfect way to introduce it is episode 9, they introduce it, and then boom, tune in 2 weeks when Winter Soldier starts, and here's the next 6 episodes of the next storyline, and you see it from a different angle, you see it from a different perspective with different heroes, and again, that leads into Black Widow or whatever, Loki, so on and so forth, right?
Yeah, because I guess Loki will be after Winter Soldier and Falcon, so.
Yeah, and, I mean, Loki has the potential to take it from a different dimension, because we know Loki's not in the same timeline.
Yep.
And we also know that there's probably going to be magic or some kind of, weird shit involved in that. So I assume that's going to lead directly into, the next storyline of Doctor Strange and the multi-dimensional shit and so on and so forth. So
yeah, because I think that is before Doctor Strange. So yeah,
Doctor Strange is in February
next. Yeah. Yeah, that's interesting. That'll be interesting to see. I'm excited to see Tom Hiddleston basically deplete his character of everything that he's built on it so far and start back from the beginning. That should be pretty fun. That should be pretty fun to watch.
Yeah, I mean, he doesn't have any of the experiences of past Avengers 1, right?
Yeah, anything past Avengers 1.
Yeah, so he's basically a different character or similar character, but has different experiences. So, I mean, I think that's where they have to introduce other dimensional stuff. Like, I mean, there's a huge theory online I wrote that, okay, so Monica Rambeau, we haven't talked really about any of the outside shit of the Hex.
No, I still have more to talk about Wanda, though.
Yeah, well, So the outside stuff of the Hex, right? Like, clearly they got kicked out of whatever's going on with the military aspect of Sword and everything else.
Yep.
Sword wants to like basically kill everything inside the Hex because they're afraid of what's going to happen in there. And Darcy and Wu and Rambo don't really want any of that to happen. They get kicked out of what's going on, but they infiltrate back in. And Wanda says, I'm going back in. And Darcy says, it's rearranging your DNA.
Getting some powers.
Yeah. So clearly they're setting up that she's getting powers of some sort.
Yep.
And then she goes, okay, well, I know a guy that can help us.
Yep.
Or something along those lines. And so people think that she's setting up
Reed Richards.
Right, Reed Richards. Yeah. And that's how they introduced Fantastic Four, the starting of Fantastic Four.
Yep. I mean, the thing is if they're from that timeline,
yeah,
they're going to need to really explain a lot, because for them to have been absent through everything that's happened in the last 10 years to be such a humongous...
Reed Richards could just be a scientist.
But in that world, I see what you're saying. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, he could just be a really smart scientist that hasn't had powers yet.
It's not like his powers are that he's smart. He's smart. And then his powers is that, yeah.
So he could just be a smart guy. So
you're saying that the Fantastic Four haven't happened yet?
Yeah.
Right. I get you.
And, I mean, they could obviously do the old Fantastic Four movies within the multi-dimensional stuff, but I'm saying this is an easy way for them to introduce Reed Richards as just a guy, and then they introduce his wife, they introduce everything else, and then that slowly gets trickled in. The Fantastic Four movie is a complete reboot, where it shows them getting their powers, they're in space, so on and so forth, all that goes down. But, I mean, it doesn't have to be like, Spider-Man got bit by the spider, beat by beat reboot, but it could be just like a very quick, like, here's a 6-minute segment at the beginning of this movie of what happens, and then fast forward 2 years until, their actual have powers or whatever. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yep, I get you.
Because people aren't going to want a full reboot again. I mean, like, it's the same as X-Men and everything that we've kind of talked about before. Is like, do we need to see Magneto start his powers again in World War II?
No,
do we need
thanks.
to see Wolverine get the adamantium, infusion into his bones, like all that stuff. Like, we don't really need that set up again. We know that. Anybody that's in this bar knows that.
That's even like Spider-Man. I don't care in the MCU if we never revisit that. Like, I'm cool. No. I get it. But again, I know what Spider-Man is. I know how he got his powers.
Sure, but there's no reason for them to ever have to set that up again, right? Like,
yes, now, yeah. I'm happy. What I'm saying is, I'm happy they skipped it.
My assumption is that Spider-Man 3 in some way will introduce Miles Morales.
Yeah, I'm sure. Oh, yeah, I'm definitely sure of that.
And I think that's where they're going to go with it, is like Spider-Man 4 will be Peter training Miles Morales on what, like, that next phase of Spider-Man will be. And that will be like a team-up movie where they're not going to have, the Iron Man character or whoever out of the MCU that needs to, like, be the buddy with Spider-Man movie. They're going to have Miles Morales and Peter Parker going in.
Well, it's inevitable that Peter's going to step into a mentor role at some point, right?
Yeah.
So it's just a matter of him becoming I think it might take more than one more episode, but I do think that Miles will be introduced into the live action.
That's what I mean.
For sure. Yeah.
I don't think that Miles might necessarily have all his powers or anything like that. Like,
they've already referenced him, right?
Yeah. I think they'll just show him in the universe. He'll be like a friend of
Spider-Man. Yeah, not as Spider-Man. Like, just as Miles. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And he's just going to be a guy. And then, like, Spider-Man 4, Spider-Man 5, all of a sudden he has his powers, whatever. And then they can lead off that direction of, like, okay, we don't need Peter Parker necessarily in this role. We can do a Miles Morales movie. And people are going to love that, too. And it kind of gives them a break of doing different storylines within that universe. And then, we can follow Peter in college or whatever while he's mentoring Miles. and he's trying to have a relationship with whoever. And, you know, they have all those things kind of going on side by side. And that's always what Spider-Man's done really well, is like him trying to live three different lives of like the good boyfriend, the good son, Peter Parker, the smart kid, Spider-Man, like, and balancing those different roles. So, like, I think that's where it's leading, is like, yeah, we could get a really cool movie of Peter Parker being Peter Parker.
Yeah, I agree. I really like Tom Holland as Spider-Man.
So do I.
Yeah, he's awesome.
Like, he came out, I wrote it in the news, but like, he came out earlier this week saying like Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield aren't in the next movies.
I heard that, yeah.
And I'm like, so he learned how to lie because he's like number one spoiler guy in the universe. I mean, obviously that's part of their marketing, and like they're probably telling him that he can leak this and that. But the fact that he like said that, I'm like, I don't know if it's even really a misdirect, because like we all assume that it's going to be a multi-dimensional Into the Spider-Verse movie.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they're going to be in it. Like, I know that like it's not officially announced, but I know that like all the talk behind the scenes says they've all signed on. Well, same with Kirsten Dunst, same with, you know, what's his name?
Goblin and what's his face?
Doc Ock.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't know. I don't know why they even bothered with that, but whatever.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't either, but...
what else did you want to talk about Wanda?
Something I thought was interesting was when she knew Vision was kind of like either in danger or something was happening, she was able to just make that bubble just get bigger just by...
Well, that's how it ends, right?
Yeah, which I thought was like so fucking crazy. Like,
well, it's scary because
it just shows how powerful she is, right? Like,
well, she has no bounds. She has no tether. Like, clearly she's out of control, and if she can expand that at will, well, that's what the next episode's going to start with, is like, how far can this bubble go? And everything that gets sucked up into the bubble turned into a carnival. So, you know, there was clowns, there was the tent, and the hot air balloon.
The ice cream truck.
Yeah. So, like, if she can manipulate any real world object into what would fit into her world, like, they have no defense, you know? And that's the scary part.
Yeah, it's crazy. Man, it's so cool.
Yeah, it's really cool.
It's so cool to see her powers actually getting, like, utilized. And, like, you see how powerful she really is, right?
Yeah, well, that and, like, obviously they need some kind of superhero with powers to combat her, right? So that's where the next episode has to lead in with somebody. I mean, like, these are all just normal people trying to figure out what's happening. Like, Darcy and Wu and all these people are just your normal guys. So, like, does this lead into Doctor Strange? Does this lead into, you know, whatever, Fantastic Four, whatever it may be? Like, as somebody who can combat this in her expanding this universe.
Well, next week we'll for sure find out who she's meeting to get back into the hacks. And then... yeah, I think we'll figure. I think if we're going to see a new introduction of a new villain, we'll at least get a sniff of who they are next week.
That's probably how the episode ends, I would assume.
Yeah, probably. I wouldn't. Yeah, because then they can. I would assume the next one to kind of explain what's going to happen, and then the last one will be the.
That's my guess.
The season, yeah.
That's my guess too. But I think the kids have to do something with it too. Is like, she's going to have the choice of destroying her world or destroying whatever, and they're going to say, what about your husband, what about your kids? And that's how, you know, they're going to hit the heart on her, and that's how they're going to try to stop her or something along those lines.
But the thing is, though, is like, are you talking about Sword saying that to her to try to stop her?
Yeah, I think that's how they're going to try to manipulate Wanda, is sending in Rambo. They're going to say, like, you know, you're destroying the people you love, you're destroying your kids, you're destroying Vision, you know, so on and so forth. What about your brother? So on and so forth. And then, and try to hit her in the heart where she doesn't destroy everything, because, you know, they want her to stop. And then something's going to happen, whether it's killing Vision or Vision dies or something that's going to set her off into like full on villain territory, in my assumption.
Yeah, it's weird because like I question Quicksilver's in like him being there, because it's obvious that he's dead. Like he's dead. she sees him with dead. Like he's and to
but
me
she saw him.
That's like her kind of slipping, like kind of losing, like maybe getting too comfortable and kind of like letting loose a little bit, and then she like sees it and she's like, oh Jesus fuck, I gotta like hold this shit together.
But did you also see that she made that kick-ass comment about
that was great. That was great.
I love that because I loved that first Kick-Ass movie so much.
Too. So good.
And that second one was just god awful.
So terrible.
And it had nothing to do with the graphic novel. Like the graphic novel of Kick-Ass 2 is so good.
Wow. I mean, it's not like you would watch it and not be like, that was an attempt at. It was a bad attempt at Kick-Ass 2, the novel.
Well, they left out so much stuff.
Yeah, man. I know. But I get, because didn't they tone it down? Wasn't that one?
Oh, yeah. It was dramatically toned down.
PG, was it PG-13 or?
I don't know if it was like rating-wise, but like, I can't remember his name because I haven't read the book in forever, but the Jim Carrey character, Sergeant whatever.
Oh, Captain Patriot or something? Isn't it Captain Patriot?
I don't know. Yeah. They toned him down so much because apparently Jim Carrey had like major issues with like how violent it was and like stuff like that, and like so they changed it dramatically from what it was supposed to be. And like, I mean, Hit Girl's always like,
I think it was still rated R. I remember it being pretty bloody still, but
I mean, so like, the second one was really bad. I think it killed the franchise, but obviously,
I didn't love it.
Aaron Taylor Johnson was kick-ass, so her comment towards that was, spot on.
But Evan Peters is also in Kick-Ass too, so it's like it's funny. Like it's
great,
interesting. It's an interesting reference, but it's good though.
Yeah, no, I like that too. And I as soon as they said that, I was like, oh man, imagine if they tied in somehow Kick-Ass into this universe. That'd be awesome.
That'd be great. I love Kick-Ass, man. That's such a good movie.
Same.
The comics are great too. So good.
Yeah, for sure.
I watched the movies and then afterwards I got into the comics and I was like, man, these comics are fucking really great.
Yeah. Both. I have only read the first two books, like Kick-Ass and Kick-Ass 2, but I think there was a third one too, right?
Yeah, third, and there's like a Hit Girl series, which is pretty good too. So, yeah. The other thing we didn't talk about yet is how Darcy's finding all that stuff on Hayworth's in his computer or whatever,
right?
And how he's tracking Vision, which is kind of interesting.
Yeah, I don't know what to make of that because on one hand, are they worried that Vision's too powerful? Are they worried that he has an Infinity Stone again? Like, what is their concern, really? And that's... Go ahead. No, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, based on the fact that when he got out, no one seemed to want to try to help him. I don't feel like they're necessarily like wanting him to be Vision. I feel like maybe they just want to like, because he's made of vibranium, right? So
yeah, I don't know. Like, I don't know where that's leading to. I on one hand, like, I think they're scared of Vision. I think they're scared of what his potential is. But I also think that then maybe they think that you can use him to stop Wanda. So
yeah, maybe. Yeah, good point. Good point.
I don't know which direction like it's heading in, but I did find that weird too. And like I love how much Darcy is in this because like I really did.
She's so good.
She's perfect, and like
she is.
There's the rumors. I don't know if you've seen this online that they're pitching a Agent Woo like spinoff series.
Oh yes, I did hear that. It's kind of like a silly, kind of like an X-Files kind of thing.
Right. They want to do like a paranormal investigation X-Files stuff, and like I don't know like what exactly they have in mind, but like to me it would be perfect if it was Woo and Darcy because Woo's got that like scientific but more cop aspect to him, and then Darcy's like straight up scientist, and that's exactly the Mulder and Scully relationship.
But they're like, all fun.
Yeah, exactly. And like, I would love them just investigating like weird stuff within the universe. Like, I think that would be so fun as a show. So even if don't do like a 24 episodes, network show, but if it was like 8 episode season, it'd be perfect.
But see, the thing is, you could do an 8 episode season, and you could even do it more than once a year because something like that wouldn't be like super graphic heavy. Like it wouldn't be a lot of like You know, you could make it at a lower budget, right? And like,
but you could have like weird space stuff in there. You could have like weird, unexplained like multiverse stuff going on, or like dimensional warps, or like I don't know, something like along those lines, where it could just be like weird side stuff that has nothing to do with the rest of the MCU.
Yeah, it's true. Be an interesting way to like use it to like get like C-list characters put into the shows.
Right, like all these random side characters that don't really have a movie. It'd be perfect.
Here comes Slapstick.
Yeah, like I think if they don't do that, I think it's silly, because like Wu is like a standout person in the series.
Yeah, he's
like,
great. He's so good.
Yeah.
And Darcy too. Honestly, I'm enjoying Darcy way more than I ever have before. She's way more tolerable now, it seems.
Yeah, well, I think they were depending on her to be the comedy break in the first two Thor movies, and they just couldn't find the right tone for those movies. Like,
I agree. They were kind of all over the place.
Yeah, and I mean, Thor didn't really have like a comedic beat yet. Like, he wasn't funny. He was trying to play the role too serious, and I think Thor Ragnarok kind of changed that, where he was.
That's the best one. It's the best one.
Yeah. So like, yeah, I really hope that they keep this up and like all these characters get spun off into other things, because they're too good not to keep going. You know, even Agnes.
Yeah, I like Agnes too. I hope that when this is over, that's not the end of her, because I quite like her too.
The actress is doing like an awesome job, and I'm just like, man, like I'd watch a show just about her.
Yeah, I'm at the point where, like, again, it's like they're putting out good stuff, right? It's keeping me intrigued, and it's like, I'm so excited to see like how this how the season ends, right? Like you know, but I mean,
did you watch the Falcon Winter Soldier trailer thing?
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
The new one? Yeah. So I really I love the tone they're going for in that, because it's so like, it seems like it's so action based, which is like a very different focus than what WandaVision's going for. So yeah, I think I don't know. I think it's going to be a very different tone of a show, and like just watching that trailer, I'm like, I like the dynamic between Falcon and Winter Soldier. Like, they got this like weird buddy thing going on, but they also have this competitive thing going on. And it's like, I don't know, I really like it.
Yeah, I like it too. It looks pretty fucking fun. I think that'll be a good one. It's funny because like I really like Falcon in the MCU. I know like he gets a lot of hate. He's like kind of almost like a Hawkeye, right? Where he just like but I enjoy him. I think he's funny. Yeah, I think he's super funny, and I love the dynamic between him and Bucky in Civil War. So it's like when I play back to that, and I think if this is going to be in any way tonally like Civil War is with those two, I'm like super excited to to see that again, right? To revisit that, because they're so fucking hilarious together. They're just so funny.
Yeah, I agree. Like, I think Falcon was like painfully underused in all the movies. Like, I wish he was more. And I really like the actor. Like, I think he does a really good job. So I think this is going to be like a really standout moment for them to like really take the spotlight away from Captain America. I agree. So, I mean, the rumor is that they're battling basically on who's going to take up the Captain America mantle throughout the series. Right. So, I think by the end of the series, we'll probably get like the next Captain America type thing. Where
yes, I think so too.
So I think that's cool.
They're introducing U.S. Agent, so that's pretty cool too.
Yeah. So I mean, there's still so many like possibilities. Like, if they do introduce Fantastic Four, where does that lead in the future series? Like, do they touch on that again, or is this like hey, we're gonna sprinkle this in over the next 3 years,
and then we'll see you in 3 years,
right? Like, is this like, hey, in 2024 when you finally get the Fantastic Four movie, like all these little breadcrumbs are gonna lead to that, or are we actually gonna get like a full blown like, here it is, like this is what's happening? And
I'd bet that if Reed Richards is introduced next week, I bet that the after credits like kind of scene for WandaVision is going to associate with Fantastic Four.
It'd be interesting if they did it that way, where like
Like, I think they'll just start, like you said, they do the breadcrumb approach. They just drop little bits here and there, and it all leads into something. You know, because the thing is at this point, Fantastic Four is announced, so it's not like it's a secret that they're coming back, right? It'd be cool to see them start leading into that, you know, a few years out and just giving little bits and pieces.
Well, the director of Spider-Man 3, all the Spider-Man movies, is directing Fantastic Four, right?
I know. It's good. It's a good choice.
Yeah, I agree. So, I mean, yeah, I think it's definitely leading in that direction, like, where they have to set it up by that time. So, obviously, we're going to keep getting breadcrumbs at some point, or unless it's going to be a full-blown, like, origin story, and they're not going to give anything until that movie, but I can't see that happening.
I doubt that.
I mean, the fact that we already have Evan Peters, Quicksilver type things, like clearly they're leading towards X-Men. So
yeah, somebody in the comments said what we thought about Evan Peters, Quicksilver.
Yeah, I mean, I love it. Like,
me too.
I hope that he's not dead. Like, I
hope he sticks around for sure.
Yeah, I think he's the best character outside of Wolverine. I think he's the best character outside of in the X-Men universe.
In the film movies, I agree. I agree for sure. He's awesome.
Storm, I thought, was terribly done. Cyclops, I thought, was terribly done. Like, Xavier was really well done, but obviously, like, they're not going to carry on really with that version of him since they killed him off in Logan and everything like that. Like, I think they have to redo all that aspects.
I agree. Yeah. It's again, I think I've either said it to you or said it even on here, but like at this point, like I wouldn't be down. I mean, it would be fun to see Hugh Jackman as Wolverine again one more time, but like to me, I feel like that could potentially confuse people. And like I feel like Wolverine's a character they don't want to like mix up. They want to make sure everybody's clear because he's an important character, right?
But it would also be cool if in Doctor Strange that in different dimensions we do see Hugh Jackman back as Wolverine.
Oh yeah, I agree. In the right context, I do agree. But to have
as long as they set it up
in the is what I mean.
As long as they set it up as this is a different dimension, like. He's not going to be carrying on as Wolverine, but this is the last go of, you know, just a stinger, you know, Easter egg type thing of like, here he is, and we get a cool fight scene with him, and, you know, maybe Quicksilver, if they carry on Evan Peters as Quicksilver, like something that could relate both dimensions to each other in that way. I think it'd be cool, and like, and then, yeah, we don't need to see any of the other characters really but come back. Like, even if, you know, they want to do like a young Magneto or a young Xavier.
I'd just rather them honestly recast, to be honest.
I think they have to.
Like it's not to say that there's not a place for McAvoy and Fassbender in the MCU, but it would just be nice to have something fresh. Like, how many movies have they done now? And it's just like, it's a lot.
Yeah, well, what, 4 or 5? 4?
Yeah, I don't know. It's time to change it up a bit, right?
Right. And yeah, I mean, 3 of the 4 movies are bad, so you know, there's no reason to carry them on. I don't think it's their fault. Like, I think
no, I don't either. It's a bad I don't blame any of the actors. Yeah. I think most of the actors did very well considering what they were working with.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
but yeah, no, I
the one thing I wish. Sorry, go ahead. You finish your statement.
I love Quicksilver, and I hope that he carries on. I hope that he's part of the New Mutant line, and I think. If they keep Evan Peters as Quicksilver for now until whenever, I think that's a smart way to go. I think this is.
I'd be on board with that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't care if Aaron Taylor Johnson doesn't come back as Quicksilver because he never impressed me. He never I never looked at that as being like a really good representation of Quicksilver.
No, and it's no disrespect to him as an actor. Like, I just think. The movie didn't set him up properly. They didn't give him really a set piece to like really show off what he could bring to the role, and that's not his fault. That's the writer's fault, and that's the direction's fault. And I mean, yeah, to me, Evan Peters is the right person to play the role. I think he did a great job in all the movies he was in. So to me, it's like, yeah, carry on with him.
Yeah,
figure out the storyline that you want to show right now, and then let him carry on as that character. If he can jump from dimension to dimension, then. That's great. If it's Wanda's interpretation of what he should be or some weird thing, I mean, let's hope that this isn't the end of the character.
I hope. The one thing I will say is I don't like that they kept the MCU style fast speed, like the running speed, where it's just like the little lasers.
Yeah.
Like I much prefer Fox's way of doing the slow motion kind of thing, right? It's like instead of showing how fast he is, everything else slows down. I think that's cool. I hope that they like do that
to fit into like the sitcom-y setting. Like
I know, but it's just it also is coincident. I feel like it's not coincidental that that's just how it was the first time too. Yeah. Right?
But I'm just thinking like the Malcolm in the Middle-esque entrance to the show. Like I feel like the tone of that is like a comedic sitcom-y 90s style thing, and that's why they wanted to show like them like wrapping around all the like kids and stealing their candy and like you know all the like beating up the pumpkins and stuff like that. Like it was kept keeping with the tone of the episode, right?
Yeah, totally.
And I think like if this was an MCU film, I think they would have done something way cooler and way more expensive with the way he looked. I just think like this was to keep it within a certain budget and within the sitcom-y styling of the episode.
So imagine at the end if it all ends with like her somehow like bringing her parents back to life, or if not, imagine we find out that her parents were just like not really her parents and Magneto's her dad. And imagine what I'm trying to say is at the end, imagine Magneto shows up and then Quicksilver gets to stay alive and then the three of them are there and maybe she was always a mutant and that's why she survived the experiments with the Mind Stone or whatever.
I hope that this series ends in that direction. Like the Quicksilver reveal was like one of my biggest what the fuck moments I've ever had with like anything, where I was like, I was losing my shit that they actually did that, because I never expected them to ever bring anything from Fox into this world. Like I always thought,
totally.
Okay,
you distance themselves, right?
Right. You got the rights to all these characters back. You were going to kill everything they ever did, and you were going to redo everything they started. And the fact that they were okay with bringing something that they didn't create into this world, I just thought was awesome. So
yeah, I agree. I agree with that.
If Fassbender came back as Magneto, I'd be excited. Like
I wouldn't be against it. I'd rather see fresh blood. But
yeah, no, I get that.
There's worse people to bring back. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
I think Fassbender and McAvoy are really the only constant thing that were good in those movies.
Yeah, I think Fassbender was underutilized in the last two movies like a lot. Like he was barely in Dark Phoenix.
Yeah.
So like to see him like really get to show his acting ability to have like a really cool movie, I think would be awesome. So
yeah, I'd be down. Like, yeah, for sure.
And I mean, they're running out of like mainstream characters they can make into movies. Like, I mean, who knows how Black Widow is going to go? But like, technically, there probably isn't going to be a Black Widow 2.
No, I don't think so.
So like, you're not going to do a new Iron Man movie. This is probably the last Thor movie. I mean, Captain America probably could continue, but like, I don't know. It's not going to be the same as we knew it. So like, I think it would be cool to have like a standalone Magneto movie, a standalone Wolverine movie that's like really, really good. Like, like all these type things where even like a standalone Gambit movie in 3, 4, 5 years. Like, I mean, I'm going to keep harping on this until I get it. I want a fucking Gambit movie.
Yeah. I mean, okay, so I think this is where it gets hard, right? Because unless Marvel wants to start releasing 10 movies a year, that's where it's going to get problematic. Because, like, if you look at what's on the slate right now, there's a shit ton of new properties being introduced. And,
yeah, I know. Like,
you know, of those ones, there's no way that 80% of them are not going to be popular enough to warrant a sequel.
We're going to get a Shang-Chi 2, and we're going to get the Eternals 2. Yeah. And, like, they're not spending the amount of money they're spending on the Eternals to cast all these huge names.
I agree. For it to be a one-off.
Them on into a sequel. I agree. Like, yeah, they're hoping that the Eternals is a huge, success, and they're going to do the Eternals too. They're hoping that Shang-Chi, everybody falls in love with the character, and they do Shang-Chi 2, Shang-Chi 3, whatever. I don't know anything about the Eternals. I don't know anything about Shang-Chi. So, like, I'm completely content. If they want to blow me away, these movies are awesome. Great.
Guardians me, baby.
Yeah, no, exactly. Like, Guardians Volume 3 is coming, but, like, do we really think there's going to be a Guardians Volume 4?
Oh, but what I mean by that is, like, Guardians. But before you saw Guardians of the Galaxy, aside from the trailer, but you knew nothing about those characters, right? Shit. Yeah. Oh, you thought Guardians looked like shit?
I hated the trailer.
Oh, I kind of remember that.
Yeah, when they first showed that trailer, I was like, this movie looked stupid. Why is there a talking raccoon? Why is there a tree? I don't like this at all. Like, I don't like I like the realism that, like, Iron Man brought, where, like, this is a guy that's super smart.
You like the grounded, and yeah.
And then when I went to the theaters and saw Guardians, I loved it. Like, I fell in love with that movie. It's my favorite MCU movie. Yeah, and so I hope that the Eternals does the same thing, where I see the Eternals and I go, holy shit, this is awesome. Like, I'm in. But I don't know. Like, I don't know enough about the characters within it to really say what
me neither. I literally know nothing.
So. And, like, I hope that we get a trailer for these movies soon, because we have not seen anything.
Yeah, we haven't.
Like, the fact that Shang-Chi is supposed to come out in, I think, June, and we don't have a trailer. I haven't even seen, like, a picture from the movie. Like, I don't know anything about what's happening in that movie. So, I'm really surprised that we didn't get a trailer during the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I am too. But I guess they used that money on
Winter Soldier.
So, you know what's funny about that trailer is I saw everybody, like, reacting to it, and then when I watched, I was like, I'm not saying it's a bad trailer, but it didn't, like, get me amped. It was still fun, but it didn't get me amped. But the one thing I really did like was when Zemo pulled off the mask and he had his purple mask. I was like, oh.
Yeah. I don't know. It got me hyped. Like, I was excited for the show regardless, just because it's more MCU. But it made me go, oh man, I wish a month from now, like, was here, because I can't wait. Yeah. But
I'm just happy that we're gonna get, like, basically no. It's just gonna be like a week break, and that's
1 week break.
Did you hear that rumor that there's apparently a bonus episode too? So there might not even be a week break. Did you hear that?
I did not hear that, no.
I don't know if that's true, but I heard that.
I heard there's going to be a stinger at the end of episode 9 in the credits, just like all of
Marvel movie.
Yeah,
that'd be good.
But I didn't hear that there'd be an episode 10. But I think their plan is to do another of the what do you call it? That little spin-off 5-minute segments they did with the Legends thing on Disney Plus.
Yeah.
So I assume that's going to be the break in between. It's going to set up Falcon and Winter Soldier of their storyline so far.
Yeah, maybe.
Did you also see that Disney has a spin-off, like, Star thing coming?
Yes, Disney Star or something, right? Or it's like
it's Star. It's called, I think, Stars or Star or whatever.
Yeah,
but
Star
TV,
like, or something, right? Star.
The more adult content that Disney doesn't want to show,
right,
is all going to Stars. So, like, basically, like, not adult, but, like, adult themed TV shows, adult themed movies that are, like,
yeah, something that's not Disney friendly,
right, is all going to Stars. And I'm like, that's great, because that means that maybe, we will get, I mean, we're already getting an R Deadpool, but that means we could get a rated R or something, Blade, whatever, that could go to that, and they're fine with it.
Yep. I think that would be cool. I think that'd be awesome.
I can't wait. Like, I was looking online today because I wanted to watch Logan again, and it's not on Disney Plus. Like, I have the Blu-ray, but I was like, I'm gonna watch Logan, and it wasn't up for streaming anywhere, and I was like, I don't feel like getting up and getting the Blu-ray out and putting it in and so on and so forth, so I didn't watch it. But if it all goes to, like, Stars, where they're like, oh yeah, we're fine with showing Deadpool on here in Logan,
yeah,
and
that'd
so
be
on.
Nice.
Perfect. You own all these properties, put them all on there.
Yeah. I guess that's probably where that stuff will end up living then, right? Because they don't have Deadpool or anything on there now.
They showed the trailers in the trailer for Stars. They showed like Die Hard and like, you know, all these horror movies. So I'm like, all right, perfect. Like
I can imagine like Family Guy will probably end up there, and right, because like they own Family Guy, I think, right? That's Fox.
I don't know for sure who owns it, but like it's on Fox, so you would assume. But
yeah,
they showed How I Met Your Mother, and
what about
something else that was like rated?
I can't wait till somebody puts up what's that one? Always Sunny in Philadelphia.
Oh, dude.
Because I haven't seen most of it.
The fact that Always Sunny is not streaming anywhere, like really, is like heartbreaking.
I know, because as soon as it does, I'm on top of that shit so fucking fast.
It is for a show that forever I was like, this isn't for me. I could write this stuff. Like, I can't write this stuff. This stuff is way funnier than anything I would ever write. They're so smart and creative, and like,
yeah, they are.
Once you actually get out of the first season and watch some of those stellar episodes where they like really find their groove, it is the funniest show on television for sure. It's the best sitcom. It's in my top 3 sitcoms ever made for sure.
Yeah. I everything I've seen of it from you and from Craig, I've really liked. So,
like Curb Your Enthusiasm and Always Sunny, and then The Office are probably like my top 3 sitcoms ever. Like, I just absolutely love it. So,
I like The Office a lot too.
Yeah, we have 4 minutes left. Have you watched that Superstore show?
No, but Kate. But Kate's like, oh, you should watch that, and I'm like, I feel like it's going to be very accurate to what life is actually like.
It is so disturbingly accurate. I posted this on
for
Facebook.
Anybody who needs context, me and Ryan both work in the grocery industry, so
we've both worked in the grocery store for 20 years.
Long time.
So we both know that life, and I'm telling you, this show Superstore, I watched on a whim. It's on Netflix. If you're in Canada, I don't know if it's in the States, but it is so disturbingly accurate to working in a grocery store that like it made me feel like I was at work watching it. And I posted right away. Awesome. I'm like, the genre of the show is not a comedy. It is a horror documentary because it is exactly like, I don't know if the writers work within retail or they hired people that had experience in retail, but like the bullshit of retail is in that show to the point where you're doing like mundane things to keep yourself entertained. Like they show that stuff. I remember like building milk crate forts in the back room to keep myself like entertained, and like they do like dumb games like that in like season 2. I'm like, the show is so accurate that like you have to watch it though.
Is it funny? Like, will I laugh at it when I'm watching it? Okay, cool. So maybe I will watch it.
It's kind of like long.
It's kind of like, have you ever seen what's the movie called? It's got Sean William Scott, and it's got John C. Reilly, and it's got Fred Armisen. It's basically about a grocery store company where like they work, and then John C. Reilly moves in from Canada and tries to take a promotion that or Michael or whatever William Scott is.
I know what you're talking about. I couldn't tell you the name of it.
The Promotion, maybe? I think it's called The Promotion.
I think you're right, yeah.
Yeah. It's funny because like I watch it and I laugh my ass off because I see all these things and I'm like, that's so true. But like Kate watches it and she's like, I don't get it. Like she gets parts of it, but she doesn't like.
That's the show.
I rewatched it a while, probably like, I don't know, 6 months ago or something. And I couldn't believe all the faces I recognized. We're going to run out of time, so.
Yeah, we got 60 seconds-ish. So,
60 seconds.
I'm telling you, watch that show. You'll appreciate it. This is the same as I did. Thanks everybody for watching. I appreciate you tuning in. Follow Matt because he's doing some awesome stuff over there, and he's selling some figures. I don't know if you guys have seen,
I'm almost out. Almost out.
You're almost out? Well, fucking go over there and look at the stuff he has left over and pick something up because he's almost gone. We got 30 seconds, so yeah. Anyways, thanks, dude.
Yeah, man. I'm excited for next. I'm excited for next week. Next week's show.
Next week's show will probably be the standout episode of so far, I think.
I think so too. We're in for a treat.
So come back next week and check out our talk on episode 7?
Yep. Episode 7. All right, man. Have a good night.
See ya.